Hello everyone and welcome to the first lab video on JSF. So in this one we're just going to create a basic application. The part of it is creating like an Hello World app or something along that lines. We'll change it up a little bit. This will be how to create a basic JSF app. What we want to do is create a form that allows us to input data into the form and have a way to receive that response back. So this is just basics. We're not dealing with databases. We're just talking about the basics of it. So as you see here, I'm using Eclipse within a Mac. So this will be pretty much the same within Windows, but this demo is on the Mac. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up to File. You don't see it. New. We're gonna do the same way that we created a project with our web services. We went to File, New, Other. I'm gonna type in DYNA. For dynamic web project, hit next. I'll call it my first Java server page app. Pretty mouthful there. We're going to choose the target runtime as Apache Tomcat 8.0. Our web module 3.1 will remain the same. Our configuration, we're going to change this a little bit. We're going to click on modify. And we're going to come down here and choose Java Server Faces 2.2. Hit OK. We're going to click Next. Remember, do not hit Finish. Hit Next. We want to make sure we have source here. This right here is fine. I'm going to click Generate. I'm going to click Next. Then we have at least one library must be selected. So what we need to do is we need to download the library, the JSF 2.2. So if you see this little floppy disk here, hit download copy. It wants to download it from Oracle. Fine, it's going to download it. You don't have to change any download destination. It's going to download it to where it needs to be. Hit next. You want to accept terms and hit finish. And this should go pretty quick. It's 2.6 megabytes. This right here is the configuration. This is a URL mapping. So remember how I mentioned about routing? This right here is, you could change this to something else, but I'm just going to keep it the same. And I'm going to hit finish right now. And it's going to build my project. So now if I go in here, I have my project built out. So this is going to be very similar to the stuff that we've already did at this point. You know what? I think I messed something up. I just realized it. Let me hit delete. I told you how to do this, and I'm going to hit delete and start. I'll pause this video and I'll show you where I left off. Actually, let me just start over. Alright, let's do, I just realized what I did wrong. I started to talk about it and I was like, oh, I did something wrong. Alright, so let me do this again. Dynamic web project. We called it my first JSP app. We modified, chose the server faces. We won't have to download this time. Hit next, next, that is next. That's already there. All right, maybe I did have this selected. What I wanted to point out is to make sure you have include libraries in this application. It was already selected, so I didn't do it wrong. So that's good. What it is, the reason being is, if you remember, if I mentioned if you use JBoss, Glassfish, so forth, it's already included, so you wouldn't have to select this. So I hit finish again. I guess I had it and I was just being precautious here. All right, so now we have our information that we want. So now what we need to do is actually build our application out that we're going to do. So remember what I said before, when you're using, if you click on sources, anything in here is going to be your package and your .java. So right now we're going to concentrate on HTML file. So I'll come down to web content. We have meta and web. Okay, so I'm going to right click on webinf. And I'm going to go new HTML file. I will call it, need to call it a name, something. I'll call it hello CCAC. Instead of hello world, let's make it hello CCAC. That makes sense, right? Hit next. You have these templates that you can choose. We'll talk about these later on, but right now I will choose the new facelet template, and we're going to delete this stuff anyway, so I'm not worried about it. So hit finish. It has all this crap here, stuff here that we're not going to use. So what I recommend is highlight it and hit delete. Pretty simple. Now all we need to do is write some code, some HTML code. So we've already talked about how to do some HTML code when we did the web services. So let's do doc type HTML. Then we're going to call HTML language equals EN for English. Okay. All right, so now we're going to indent down a little bit. We're going to type in XML NS equals, what we're doing here is writing some JSF UI component tags that need to be utilized in the program. So we're going to do HTTP www. These are just standards, w3.org 1999.xhtml. Then we'll have XML and S, H equals HTTP, if I can spell right, XML and S dot jcp dot org dot jsf slash HTML, and then XML and S, oops, A equals, and the H is the means it's a JSF. You know how like I have H component there, H call. Well, actually we're not down there yet, so let me think here. A equals HTTP, XML and S. There we go. Then we need to do jcp.org.jsf and then faceless. And then close our tag. Now we have our HTML tag closing there, that's fine. Oops. Alright. Wish I could make that bigger. Oh, there's a way of making it bigger, but I'm sure you guys can zoom in and see what we're doing here. So that's our basic part of it. Now we need our head. So we have our heading, our title, and stuff like that. So we're going to do H colon, a little bit different, and I'll explain why in a second here. The reason we're not doing, you know, like when we did the web services, we did head and we did title, but since we're using H colon, that means it's a JSF custom tag. Okay, it's a custom tag that we need to use in our coding here. So we're going to do this, and we'll need a closing tag. So I like to close it off right off the bat. Now I'm going to indent in and do title. So I'm just going to do title. I will call this my first. You guys could call this anything. I'll call it my first JSF app. Simple. Title ends for me, so I'm not worried about that. Heading's good. We're good there. Now we need to do our body. So we're going to do H colon again. I think I did it wrong. H colon, and I'll do body. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and close that body off right away. And it's important to close that shell off as much as possible, or kind of get your shell built. All right. So now all we need to do is create a form. A form being a form where people enter something in. So this is going to be a little bit different than how we did with so it's going to be a little bit different than how we did within Java FX. So there's a lot to learn in this class, but hopefully it's a good experience for everyone. So let's see here. We're going to do H colon form. What am I going to do? I'm going to do this. Close that off. All right. Now I'm indenting a little bit. I'm going to do H colon again. I'm going to do input text. Means input information. I'm going to give it a unique ID, what it stands for. So I'm going to do ID equals name. You can name that anything. I'm going to do value equals, and we'll talk about this in a second. I'm going to do quotation marks. I'm going to put a pound in there. Then I'm going to use a little squiggly bar that we're used to in Java and type in the user name. There we go. And then I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to indent in a little bit. See, I haven't did these discussions in a while. I'm going to do a colon placeholder equals what's your name, and close the tag off. All right. So all we're doing here is building an HTML form. We're giving the input text, the text box, a name. That's going to be what references it. So once we submit this, we have to, this ID right here is going to have a value. It's going to be like the parameter that carries the value over. And then it's going to say the value equals the username. So we're giving it this hashtag. We're giving it, actually this is going to be our variable, and this is going to be our name. So the name of our variable, and this is where it gets the value at. And this placeholder is just a question that goes with it. You know, you can put anything there. All right, so I'd like to ask you any questions, but can't do that right now. So I'm going to do H:, command button, and I'll put value equals submit, if I can spell submit right. Okay, then we need an action. So action means, in HTML, you need an action means we need something to respond. So we need to have a response. We're sending this something. So in this case, what we're trying to do is we're not submitting a form to a database and saving information there. What we're doing is we're sending something and we want to receive it back. So we want to process some type of data and receive some type of action to come back. So what we'll do is we'll call it my response. And I'll do this. There we go. So now, let's see, we have form. We got our body. What I'm going to do is change that up a little bit. There we go. So now we have this information here. I would suggest saving it. Now what we need to do is build a form that allows us to respond back to that value. So we called it, my response. So what I'm going to do here is right click on it again. We're going to do a new HTML file. We're going to call it, let's see here. You know what? I just realized. Let me hit cancel real quick. So when I created that HTML file, we need to rename it. I call it HTML. Let's refactor that. Let's do hold on one second with me. All right, so we need to rename this just a little bit. So if I right click and do rename, I want to make it XHTML instead of HTML. So that's what we want. Hit OK. That was my mistake. All right, so let me right click on it again and do HTML file. This one we'll call my response. And we'll make sure we add the X to it and hit finish or next. We'll choose that right now and we'll erase that information in a second here. All right, I apologize. I'm doing this kind of on a whim again. HTML, we need to have HTML language equals English. We need to indent in. I think I could grab that information. So we know we need that, and we need these two guys here. So let's make life easy. Let's copy and paste. Let's not be crazy about it. So I'm gonna copy and paste it. Maybe. All right, cool. And then close it there. And then do my HTML down here. Oops. Good. All right, so then I'm gonna come down here. I'm gonna indent in a little bit. I'm gonna do H:, head. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm going to do that. There we go. And we need a title. We'll do title. We'll call it hello CCAC. And we'll call it response. Head. Let's see here. We need to do body. So body will do same thing. H body. We need to close that body off. Boom. A lot of this is closing stuff off. All right. Now our code, really easy. We're going to do hello. And we're going to do pound the username. So what you could do, make things easy, go back to your first thing right here. You see this right here where it says pound the username. Just copy this so you don't have to write it and mess it up. So do that and paste. There you go. So all we're trying to move this up, make it look good. All we're doing is saying hello, this guy right here. So whatever you post, so this will be the ID, is a unique ID that represents that. And this is the value. So we're going to say, hey, display this information. That's going to be my value here. Okay, so let me close this and this. So let's actually see if this works. If I right click on my first app, I do run as run on server. Tomcat, hit next. It needs to start because that's, I'm going to take this web service off here. Remember what I said about that? I'm just going to use this right here and hit finish. Server has to start. All right, why didn't she work? My first, I have to look at what's going on there. So let's see, we just need hello CCAC. Let's see what's going on. So right now I'm seeing that I'm having some difficulties on this, and this is why I should have prepared before I release this video. So I am going to stop the video now, correct the problems that I have, and then I'll show you what I did to correct this, and we'll go from there. So stay tuned for video number 2. Thanks.